importance of education for the 130 plus million children that go to school in India. Since 1999, Dream a Dream has mainstreamed life skills as a critical approach to help children overcome adversity and learn to thrive. Today, the organization is transforming the Indian education ecosystem through its own programs, curriculum, pedagogical innovations, and the development of holistic assessment frameworks, while also shifting the narratives around the purpose of education. Our work is spread across 6 Indian states, reaching over 2.2 million children through strategic partnerships with state governments and collaborations with other non-profits and funders in India. This workshop is a testimony to the commitment that Dream a Dream has in our work with the public education system transformation in England.
Esteemed guests, with a small token of appreciation, so for which I would like to invite our Commissioner, Ma'am Camilano. Could you kindly come on the dais, and I would request Mr. Sharik, our Associate Director, to kindly hand the token of appreciation to Ma'am. Thank you. Now may I request Ma'am Asano, Chairperson NBSC, to come on the dais and receive a token of appreciation. I request our Director, Sri Hari, to kindly present the token to Ma'am. Thank you. Now may I request Ma'am Tamsana Iyer, Mission Director, Samagra, to kindly come on the dais and receive a token. I request Mr. Joseph, our Senior Consultant, to kindly hand the token to Ma'am. Thank you. May I request our Principal Director, Mr. Tavasinki, to kindly come on the dais and receive a token. I request Mr. Sharik to kindly hand over the token to sir. May I also request Director of School Education, Mr. Wotumbo, if he's here, to kindly receive a token. So it's not here, so may I request Madam Abida, Deputy TP, to kindly come and receive a token of appreciation. I request Mr. Shihari to kindly present to Ma'am. Okay, thank you. Thank you, everyone. I now request our students from Dr. Nil Zukire to kindly come on the stage. They will be presenting a special song called A Million Dreams. Students, I kindly request you to come and take it.
To go beyond academic grades and marks and define what they are actually. Schools are becoming more equitable and inclusive spaces. Classroom, we really wanted the classroom to be a safe space where children can actually get real experiences.
We have 4 districts we have selected. One is Mon, then Mukokchung, Sunahaboto, and Kohima was the districts we have conducted district TNA. And our major stakeholders, as I mentioned, so as part of data collection, we have conducted survey with students. So we have covered around 900 students. Then teachers, 57 teacher interviews we have conducted. At the same time, 61 parent interviews also be conducted as part of this. And I'll just give a brief about the sampling distribution. So we have considered junior and senior students, which consists so junior students from 6 to 8 standard, which is in the sample actually 50% of students are from junior, and senior students, that is 9 to 12 standard, that is also again 15. So that was an equal distribution. And when we talk about sample in terms of gender, so for boys it was 46% and girls it was 54%. We tried to figure come up with 50-50, but because of the convenience, the availability, actually it has got a 46 and 54 sample distribution based on gender. So now I'll just, so what was the purpose, what is the major objective of this TNA was to understand the current status of well-being among these students. At the same time, what are the contexts or what are the contextual factors affecting their well-being? That was one of the key objective. And second objective was to hear from the parents and teachers their perspective about well-being of their students. So that was the two major objectives. And major tools used to understand and gauge this information was social and emotional well-being. That is a standardized scale. It talks about social, personal, and emotional well-being elements. Then we have also conducted a we have also given a checklist for teachers to understand their perspective about their students' well-being. That was one another tool. And third tool was interview schedule. So we have conducted teacher interviews. So we have prepared a teacher interview schedule. At the same time, there was a interview schedule for parents also. So there was a interview schedule for that as well. Yeah. So before getting to the insights, I just wanted to portray or showcase about what we have measured or what we have gauged, what we tried to figure out, like out of the social and emotional well-being. So major dimensions what we focused here was emotional well-being, which talks about how students able to regulate their emotions in their stressful events, and which this emotional well-being consists of two sub-skills, that is emotional regulation and coping with stress. And next major dimension was resilience. It talks about how students are bouncing back in their adverse situation. And third was on social support. So social support is basically how students perceive their social support is, so from their significant people around them. So how they perceive about their social support, that was the major dimension. And fourth major dimension was social well-being. It talks about how they create positive relationship with surroundings. So it major sub-skills under that was interpersonal relationship and empathy. And last one is personal well-being. That is all about how your ability to evaluate your life for a positive functioning. And the sub-skills under personal well-being was self-efficacy and autonomy. So these were the dimensions we focused while we measuring this social and emotional well-being of these students. So now we are getting into the analysis. So first step what we have taken during our analysis was just wanted to know the trend, like from this overall sample, what was the trend in terms of their well-being status. So we have taken social and emotional well-being as a total construct. At the same time, the dimensions which is involved in this social and emotional well-being construct. So so you can see that these are the scores out of 100 what they have received. So overall social and emotional well-being score of average for the state from the sample district was 67. And when we get into deeper insights on the dimensions, you can see that personal well-being, emotional well-being, and resilience were the lowest or the weakest area where, in comparison to other dimensions, they have scored less. That means these are the pressing needs, or these are the areas where we have to focus while we plan something or while we draft a curriculum. So this was the major overall trend which we can see here out of this analysis. And we also got into deep in terms of their sub-skills. So when we analyzed on the sub-skills, you can see from the graph that autonomy, coping with stress, and emotional regulations were the least or the weakest area where students have scored less in terms of their well-being. And empathy is the highest scored, where students understand others' emotions and react to respond to it. So that was visible there, and that is the highest scored one. But the key area or the weakest area we can see from here is autonomy, coping with stress, and emotional regulation. So as I mentioned, there was a standardized scale we have used that is based on social and emotional well-being, and these scores being divided into different levels: low, emerging, developed and highly developed. That is based on the statistics, and it's a standard norm. So that based on that also we have done an analysis. I'm not getting into all this. This deck will be circulated, so you can refer that. It's a standard norm we have created, and when we based on that norm, those norms. We have done an analysis in terms of like how much or what's the percentage of students who are in what level. So when you get into emotional well-being, you can see that. So there are 20% are in low and 35% are in emerging. So clubbing these two, so it comes around 51%. That means more than half of the sample were in low and emerging. That is a pressing need. And for resiliency, when we see, it is coming around 58%. They are in low and emerging level. And when we say social support, as we have seen in the overall trend also, the average score was higher for social support. Similarly here, majority of the sample actually feels that they have enough social support, and when we see the levels, analysis on levels, so majority of the students are in developed. And social well-being also you can see majority, so half of the sample were in low or emerging and half were in developed and highly developed. Personal well-being, this is one of the area we have to focus. So low, you can see that 60.4% are in low and 42, that is coming around 60%. So 60% are in those levels. That means that is also personal well-being, which talks about autonomy, which talks about decision making, it talks about self-efficacy, having the confidence to complete a task. So these are the areas we have seen that there is a high pressing need to address. So far what we have seen from students' reflection on their well-being. So now also with this we also have conducted a checklist. We also have conducted used a checklist to understand teachers' perspective on students. So with from the teachers' perspective, what are the needs we gauged from this analysis is one is self-awareness is one of the key area where teachers feel that they have to come up with. Self-awareness means low self-worth. That was the key themes emerged from the analysis. And emotional management is also a concern teachers have showcased. And at the same time, social awareness was a concern teachers have mentioned. In comparison to other two, so these are the three areas teachers have mentioned that these are the pressing needs and we need to consider that while we plan an intervention. As I mentioned in the beginning, so what are the tools? So we have conducted interviews also with teachers at the same time parents. So we'll start with teachers interview. So these are the areas of concerns what they have mentioned during the interview. So personal, emotional and social well-being under this construct. So they talk about self-awareness as we have seen in the previous slide, then poor emotional management skills, then lack of positive peer relationship and lack of safe learning space. So they are not able to, for example, some of the examples they have quoted was they are not able to ask a question. If they need something, they are not able to ask and they are not feeling safe. So that is affecting the relationship with the teacher and student. At the same time, they are not able to express themselves. And with this problem, actually, teachers are facing challenges in terms of whether the students are understood or not, or comprehend the concept or not. So how to create a safe learning space. So that was a concern emerged out of this teacher interview. Then certain contextual factors also we have explored. So one is learning gap. So what they are supposed to do as part of the learning outcome. So that one of the area that they have not reached. Then language barrier and student background. So especially in lower grades, we have seen this language barrier as teachers have mentioned about this language barrier. Then background in terms of their financial status. Then substance abuse is a major concern teachers have spoke about. Then lack of infrastructure in some of the schools also have been emerged as a contextual factors of which is hindering the well-being of the student. And parents, from parents also we have listened to what they think about students' well-being. So social and emotional skills, under social and emotional skills, they spoke about interpersonal skills, lack of interpersonal skills. Then emotional expression, so what they feel they are not able to do it, or maybe they are not able to regulate their emotions. For example, anger. So they don't know how to cope it, or how they can adopt a coping mechanism. So that is a challenge. To display aggression and difficulty in coping with challenges. Then contextual challenges, they mentioned about peer influences in terms of like substance abuse they have connected with. So that is one of the challenges they mentioned. Lack of discipline in school at the same time at home. So these are the challenges. Then academic challenges also they have quoted. Struggling especially in maths and science. That was a challenge. Lack of resources in terms of financial, so they are not able to send school or the additional support, anything if required that is not able to provide. So these were the emerged themes from parents interview. So based on this analysis, certain key insights we want to highlight here. So as I mentioned, emotional well-being, personal well-being, and resiliency were the areas they were mentioning in terms of need to be addressed. In subsequence, we can see that autonomy, coping with stress, and emotional regulation were noted as a major area. Then, according to teachers, self-awareness, social awareness, and emotional management are the key areas. Key insights from a teacher and parents interview. Teachers reported, so anger was one of the issue we have seen in the previous slide. Then at the same time, self-awareness. So they feel they're low in self-worth, and so that area need to be addressed. Then relationship skills in terms of positive relationship with peers, teachers. So that was a major insights come up. Then classroom interaction. So they are not feeling safe. As I mentioned before, they are not able to come up with their challenges. They are not able to ask questions, and teachers are not able to understand what the student needs. So these are the area where the actual issue is that whether the students are able to express themselves. Negative peer interactions. Then at the same time, they also spoke about numeracy and literacy. Like there are challenges, and according to their age, whether they have acquired whatever as part of the learning outcome. So that was also a concern as part of the insights we have noted. And based on this analysis and insights, few recommendations we have out of this TNA training need analysis. So one is the capacity building of teachers to foster students' social and emotional well-being, especially on the pressing needs we have addressed in previous slides. So promote students' well-being through curriculum. So as we all know that we are also trying to figure out like what to incorporate in that. So we based on this TNA, it has been evolved that certain elements we have to focus with priority. I'm not only saying that these are the areas only to focus in curriculum, but this with priority or more focus to those areas what we have gauged from this TNA that is need to be addressed. Then build positive relations. We have to promote initiatives under that. Then safe learning space that is continuously emerging from students, from teachers. Then upskill teachers with facilitation and classroom management skills. Then continuous professional development of teachers and strategies for parent engagement also. Because engaging all the stakeholders that really matters in development of a student, at the same time to promote well-being. Yeah, so with this actually, based on this recommendation and insights, the offering is to collaborate NBSC, SCRT and Department of School Education to come up with a social and emotional well-being curriculum to foster students' well-being that enables actually students to face their lives with confidence, at the same time be a responsible citizen.
This started and why socio-emotional learning is going to be a very key component of what we do going forward. So Dream a Dream founders Suchita and Vishal are very, very dear friends. So we were discussing sometime in 2022, late 2022, about collaborating and figuring out how do we sort of work together to improve the school education ecosystem here in our state. So Dream had worked on two major projects. I mean, they've been working with several states on several projects, but then two major projects that they had worked on was something known as the happiness curriculum, which the government of Delhi has introduced, and which has been received very well and has had amazing reviews in terms of, from students, teachers, parents alike, in terms of how they're helping kids deal with their emotions and deal with stresses in life. I think ultimately all of us, once we go through the education system, we do understand that the most important component of our life is how do we deal with what happens to us, all the curveballs that life throws at us. The moment that is sorted, anything else we can just take it with the flow and manage. So we wanted to do something similar here. So this is one of the projects that they're working on. The other one is they work with CBSE for development of the holistic progress card. So most of our report cards are typically one-dimensional. They look at how well you've scored in your exams, how's your attendance, and so on and so forth. But then you're not covering elements that are over and above just the academics. Right, so the holistic progress card was an initiative by CBSE, and the CBSE has already introduced it. So they're now working with NBSE on developing our own version of the holistic progress card, because anything of this sort has to be customized to our state's requirements. So that's something that they're already working on. Apart from that, we wanted our own version of the happiness curriculum and to help our kids deal with whatever life throws at them and then emerge successfully. So the social well-being curriculum, that's how we started working on it. But then before we started on development of the curriculum, we wanted to do a training needs analysis, because we have to understand exactly what's the situation in our state. Because if there are certain parameters where our kids are far superior to kids in the other states, you wouldn't want to focus much when it comes to the on that particular aspect in the curriculum. So this was very essential to get a sense of what's there on the ground. So that's how the training needs analysis went about. So socio-emotional learning, so today's workshop is just not about discussing what SEL is. Most of us are aware of what SEL is, but how do we sort of integrate this and come up with a holistic intervention which would help put our kids at the center and then give them skills with which they can successfully navigate life. So the whole child development, that's the term that's typically used. How do you ensure whole child development with activities that are focused on socio-emotional learning? And we'd like, I think the pilot, we'd be looking at roughly 176 schools in 16 districts, as and when the curriculum is developed in coordination with all the stakeholders. There would be a pilot, and then before we look at a statewide rollout. So as we're all aware, children are our future. Now, if they are not given the skills, to deal with their emotions and share their awareness, that will be a failure on our part in terms of not equipping them completely to be successful in their life in whatever field they choose to do, and not just in their professional lives but also in their personal lives. So I'll just talk about two examples here. I mean, these are current examples. So the first is with regards to the Australian Army. So the Australian Army has an elite corps. So the best of the best in the Australian Army join the elite corps. So when they call for applications for people who want to join the elite corps, the first thing that they look at in their resume is that, has this person faced failure in their life? If the applicant hasn't faced failure, they reject that person. Because their question is, if this person suddenly faces failure, will he or she be able to bounce back? So, ability to deal with failure is inevitable. I mean, every single person is going to fail at some time or not. If you're not failing, you're not just playing at the right level. So, how do you deal with failure is a key component of how several organizations recruit and take in people. So this is one. The second is Jensen Huang is the CEO of NVIDIA. Now it's one of the most valuable companies in the world, right up there with Microsoft, Google, and Aramco. It's more than 2 trillion in market cap. Now this gentleman, he had recently gone to Stanford, which again is one of the most elite universities on the planet. The smartest of the smartest go to Stanford. So now there he talks about, he said one thing. He says that people with high expectations typically have very low resilience. So he says that he wishes the class at Stanford, who listening to him, he says that when he grew up, he was lucky because he had the right amount of pain and suffering in his life. So so when he went to the US for his masters, his first job was in a diners called Denny's. He was waiting tables. He was cleaning toilets. So this gentleman says some of the toilets that I've cleaned, people can't even look at it. So nothing is below me. And today he's a billionaire. And Nvidia, his firm, I'll tell you just for the record, has the enviable record of being the best company in the world in terms of addition of market cap in a single day. I think it added $287 billion to its market cap in one single day. No other company even comes close. So that's the scale of the guy who we were talking about. So he's a billionaire himself. He says, even today, if need be, I can clean a toilet. He says that resilience is the single most important factor for success in life. What is resilience? I mean, things happen in life. Can you come back? That's the whole thing. Or are you just going to be just going to suffer in silence and not move forward in life? So I think that's a very important aspect that we talked about alongside everything else: self-efficacy, autonomy, social support. Social support. Luckily, our state kids are very lucky that way, because not all states. I come from Tamil Nadu. There is a certain level of community support, but here the kind of community support that we have is just off the charts. So our kids are very lucky that way. But then there are other aspects: emotional regulation. So we saw that kids are not able to deal with anger outbursts. Anger, like we all know, is something that can completely derail your life. So if that's a major problem that our kids are dealing with, we need to figure out a way to address that right away. Coping with stress, when we talk about empathy, of course, I mean, still pretty good, because when you have a lot of social support, you are inherently, you have a certain level of empathy, interpersonal relationships, and also so this is going to be the basis on which we're going to develop the curriculum. So going forward at a certain level, with SCRT and NBSE taking the lead, content, curriculum development, teacher training activities at the school level will definitely have the aspect of social emotional learning inbuilt into what's being done at the school level. The new NEP talks about this in great detail, and it specifically talks about children not just becoming academically competent, but also socially and economically competent. That is in a certain sense far more important than just focusing on the singular focus on academics. And there's something that all of us have realized as we have progressed in life. This again is not something that happens overnight. This will need a lot of consistent effort, and anything in life that's worth it will come only with a lot of discipline and consistent effort. So this is going to be no different. And even as adults, a lot of people are finding it very difficult to express a range of emotions. Anger, sadness, happiness, anxiety. How do you even expressing this becomes difficult? And then how do you even deal with it? I mean, many are they learn it on their own. But then if we can equip kids when they're still in school, we can ensure that their learning curve is much faster, and when they pass out of school, they're much more balanced and far more capable individuals who will be able to handle a whole lot of issues that happen as life progresses. So communication with students and teaching them to manage their emotions is going to be absolutely critical alongside academic inputs. So I want to thank Dream for everything that they're doing for us here, and all the stakeholders that they've collaborated with, and we look forward to being able to roll out this curriculum and ensure that our kids are far better when it comes to managing their emotions and expressing themselves sometime down the line. Thank you so much.
This opportunity to invite Ms. Kevelino Angami, Commissioner and Secretary, School Education and SCRT, Government of Nagaland, to share her thoughts.
Share some thoughts and also acknowledge team from Dream a Dream for coming forward to assist us, to support us in this development of a curriculum on the social, emotional well-being. We are all aware that the National Education Policy 2020 talks about competency-based learning, talks about experiential learning, critical thinking, talks about building the capacities of children with life skills, vocational education, so on and so forth. We are happy that the Dream a Dream team, they have come forward on their own in 2022, 2022, they have come forward to assist us to come up with this curriculum. And the national education policy also talk about integrating the curriculum with the various aspects. We have talked about just now. We had talked about the gap analysis, the outcomes of the gap analysis of the social emotional well-being of children, and we have learned that if the children are not socially and emotionally strong, they land up into various problems. And there are no quick fix for happiness, no quick fix for dealing with stress. We talk about stress, dealing with stress, but we'll have to teach our children. First, we'll have to learn ourselves how to deal with the stress, our emotions. Then only we can talk about teaching our children how to deal with their emotions. Tava had just shared about the importance and the need of being self-awareness, the importance of having life skills, communication skills, the skills to maintain relationships, the skills to deal with the various emotions. And we also know that children, they struggle with various emotions as they are growing children. We have all come across that. As adults, we still face a lot of emotions, emotional upheavals. And therefore, I think it is an opportune time, in fact, and a very apt time, when we will be able to come up with this curriculum so that we are able to deal, and we are also able to nurture our children to deal with their emotions. We're living in a very complex modern society where things are happening very fast. Every day we hear of new things being introduced in our community, in our society. New habits, new equipments, new devices, and children are confused. We also have our children faced with peer pressure from various angles to deal with their emotions. And therefore, the issue of substance abuse is evident and present in our societies. But with the ability to deal with the emotions, I'm sure they'll be able in a better position to deal with these problems in the future. So thank you, Dream a Dream. Forward to working with you in the near future as well. Thank you.
Very thankful to everyone, especially all officials, staff members from the district level,